Welcome to Wicked Shizuku's Reviews, bringing you a southern perspective on books, movies, music, and much, much more. Stick around for a while, you just might hear something wicked. Well, hello again. Hello again. And welcome back to Wicked Shizuku's Reviews. This is a Wednesday read. This is episode 73. And we will be going to continuing with the Aeneid of Virgil. And if you're new here, please go over to the playlist and start at episode 3. And if you wish to listen to this from the very beginning. So yeah, that's it. So we're continuing with the Aeneid of Virgil and picking up with book 6, The Lower World. Morning for Palinurus. He drives the fleet to Cumia's coastline. The prows are turned, the anchors let down. The beach is covered by the vessels. Young in their eagerness for the land in the west, they flash ashore. Some seek the seeds of flame, hidden in veins of flint, and others spoil the woods of tinder and show where waters run. Aeneas, in devotion, seeks the heights where stands Apollo's a temple, and the cave where the dread Sibyl dwells, Apollo's priestess, with the great mind and heart inspired, revealer of things to come. They enter Diana's grove, pass underneath the roof of gold. The story has it that Daedalus fled from Minos' kingdom, trusting himself to wings he made, and traveled a course unknown to man, to the cold north, descending on this very summit here, earthbound again. He built a mighty temple, paying Apollo homage, the dedication of the origin of his wings. On the temple doors he carved in bronze Androgeus' death, and the payment enforced on Cecrops' children, 7 sons, for sacrifice each year. There stands the urn. The lots are drawn, facing this, over the sea, rises the land of Crete. The scene portrays Pasiphae, in cruel love, the bull she took to her by cunning, and their offspring, the mongrel minotaur, half man, half monster, the proof of lust unspeakable, and the toil of the house is shown, and the labyrinthian maze which no one could have solved but Daedalus. Pitied a princess's love, loosened the tangle, gave her a skein to guide her way. His boy Icarus might have been here in the picture, and almost was. His father had made the effort once and once more, and dropped his hands. He could not master his grief that much. The story held them. They would have studied it longer. But Achates came from his mission. With him came the priestess, Deiphebe, Deiphobie, or Deiphebe, daughter of Glaucus, who tends the temple for Phoebus and Diana. She warns Aeneas It is no such sights the time demands, far better to offer sacrifice. 7 chosen bullocks, 7 chosen ewes, a herd without corruption. They were prompt in their obedience, and the priestess, summoned by the Trojans to the lofty temple, the rock's vast side, is hollowed into a cavern with 100 mouths, 100 open portals, whence voices rush, the answers of the Sibyl. They had reached the threshold, and the Virgin cried, "It is time to seek the fates. The god is here. The god is here. Behold him." And as she spoke, before the entrance, her countenance and color changed, and her hair tossed loose, and her heart was heaving, her bosom swollen with frenzy. She seemed taller, her voice not human at all, as the god's presence drew nearer and took hold on her. "Aeneas," she cried, "Aeneas, are you praying? Are you being swift in prayer? Until you are, the house of the gods will not be moved, nor open its mighty portals." More than her speech, her silence made the Trojans cold with terror, and Aeneas prayed from the depth of his heart. "Phoebus Apollo, compassionate ever slayer of Achilles, through aim of Paris' arrow, helper and guide over the seas, over lands, the deserts, the shoals, and the quicksands. Now at last we have come to Italy. We hold the lands which fled us. Grant that thus far, no farther, a Trojan fortune attend our wandering, and spare us now. All of you, gods and goddesses, who hated Troy in the past, and Trojan glory, I beg you, most holy prophetess, in whose foreknowing the future stands revealed, grant that the Trojans, I ask, with fate's permission, rest in Latium. Their wandering storm-tossed gods, I will build a temple in honor of Apollo and Diana, out of eternal marble, and ordain festivals in their honor. For the Sibyl, a great shrine in our kingdom, and I will place there the lots and mystic oracles for my people, with chosen priests to tend them. Only, priestess, this once I pray you, chant the sacred verses with your own lips. Do not trust them to the leaves, the mockery of the rushing wind's disorder." But the priestess, not yet subject to Apollo, went reeling through the cavern, wild and storming, to throw the god who presses like a rider with a bit and bridle, and weight tames her wild spirit, shapes her to his control. The doors fly open, the 100 doors of their own will fly open, and through the air the answer comes, "O Trojans, at last the dangers of the sea are over. The course is run, but graver ones are waiting on land. The sons of Dardanus, or Dardanus, will reach the kingdom of Lavinia. Be easy on that account. The sons of Dardanus also will wish that they had not come there. War, I see, terrible war, and the river Tiber foaming with streams of blood. There will be another Xanthus, another Simois in Greek encampment, even another Achilles born in Latium, himself a goddess's son, and Juno further will always be there. You will beg for mercy, be poor, turn everywhere for help. A woman will be cause once more of so much evil. A foreign bride, receptive to the Trojans, a foreign marriage, do not yield to evil. Attack, attack, more boldly than the fortune seems to permit. An offering of safety, incredible, will come from a Greek city. So, through the amplifiers of her cavern, the hollow vaults, the Sibyl cast her warnings, riddles confused with truth, and Apollo rode her, reining her rage, and shaking her, and spurning the fierceness of her heart. The frenzy dwindled a little, and her lips were still. Aeneas began, For me, no form of trouble, maiden, is new or unexpected. All of this I have known long since, lived in imagination. One thing I ask is that this is the gate of the kingdom. So it is said where Pluto reigns, the gloomy marsh where the water of Akron runs over. Teach me the way from here. Open the portals that I may go to my beloved father. Stand in his presence. Talk with him. I brought him once on these shoulders through 1,000 weapons and following fire and foemen. He shared with me the road, the sea, the menaces of heaven. Things that an old man should not bear, he bore them, tired as he was. And it was who told me to come to you in humbleness. I beg you, pity the Son, the Father. You have power, great priestess, over all. It is not for nothing Hecate gave you this dominion over avenues, Avernus's groves. If Orpheus could summon Eurydice from the shadows with his music, if Pollux could save his brother, coming, going along this path, why should I mention Theseus? Why mention Hercules? I, too, descended from the line of Jupiter. He clasps the altar, making his prayer, and she made answer to him, son of Anchias, born of godly lineage, by night, by day, the portals of dark Dis stand open. It is easy. The descending down to Avernus. But to climb again, to trace the footsteps back to the air above, there lies the task, the toil. A few beloved by Jupiter descended from the gods, a few in whom exalting virtue burned, have been permitted around the central woods. The black Cocytus glides, a sullen river. But if such is in your heart, such longing for double crossing of the Stygian lake, for double sight of Tartarus, learn first what must be done. In a dark tree there hides a bough, all golden, leaf and pliant stem, sacred to Proserpine. Sacred to Proserpine. This all the grove protects. The shadows cover it with darkness. Until this bough, this bloom of light, is found, no one receives his passport into the darkness, whose queen requires this tribute. In succession, after the bough is plucked, another grows, gold green with the same metal. Raise the eyes, look up, reach up the hand, and it will follow these, if fate is calling otherwise. No power, no steel can loose it. Furthermore, alas, you do not know this. One of your men lies on the shore, unburied, a pollution to all the fleet. While you have come for counsel, here to our threshold, bury him with honor, black cattle slain in expiation for him must fall before you see the Stygian kingdoms, the groves denied to living men. Aeneas, with sadness in his eyes and downcast heart, turned from the cave, and at his side Ochates accompanied his anxious meditations. They talked together. Who could be the comrade named by the priestess lying there unburied? And they found him on dry sand. It was Maecenas, Aeolus's son, none better with the trumpet to make men burn for warfare. He had been great Hector's man-at-arms. He was good in battle, with spear as well as horn. And after Hector had fallen to Achilles, he had followed Aeneas, entering no meaner service. Some foolishness came over him. He made the ocean echo to the blare of his trumpet that day, and challenged the sea gods to a contest in martial music, and Triton, jealous, caught him, however unbelievable the story, and held him down between the rocks and drowned him under the foaming waves. His comrades mourned Aeneas most of all, and in their sorrow they carry out in haste the Sibyl's orders. Construct a funeral altar high as heaven. They go to an old wood, and the pine trees fall, where the wild beasts have their dens, and holm oak rings to the stroke of the axe. And oak and ash are riven by the splitting wedge, and rowan trees come rolling down the steep mountainside. Aeneas helps them and cheers them on, studies the endless forest, takes thought and prays. If only we might see it, that golden bough, here in the depth of the forest, bright on some tree. She told the truth, our priestess, too much, too bitter truth, about Maecenas. No sooner had he spoken than twin doves came flying down before him and alighted on the green ground. He knew his mother's birds, and made his prayer, rejoicing, "Oh, be leaders wherever the way, and guide me to the grove, where the rich bough makes rich the shaded ground. Help me, O goddess mother." And he paused, watching the sign they gave. What course they set, the birds flew on a little just ahead of the perusing vision, when they came to the jaws of a dank avernus, evil-smelling. They rose aloft, then swooped down the bright air, perched on the double tree, where the off-color of gold was gleaming golden through the branches, as mistletoe in the cold winter blossoms with its strange foliage on an alien tree, the yellow berry gliding the smooth branches, gilding the smooth branches. Such was the vision of the gold in leaf on the dark holm oak. So the foil was rattling almost the bract in the soft wind, stirring like metal. Aeneas broke it off with eager grasp, and bore it to the Sibyl. Meanwhile, along the shore, the Trojans mourned, paying Maecenas' dust the final honors. A mighty pyre was raised of pine and oak, the sides hung with dark leaves and somber cypress along the front, and gleaming arms above. Some made the water hot, and some made ready bronze cauldrons simmering over fire, and others lave and anoint the body, and with weeping lay on the bier his limbs, and place above them familiar garments, crimson color, and some take up the heavy burden, a sad office, and as their fathers did, they kept their eyes averted. As they brought the torches nearer, they burned gifts with him, bowls of oil, and viands, and frankincense. And when the flame is quiet, and the ashes settle to earth, they wash the embers with wine, and slake the thirsty dust. The bones are placed in a bronze urn by Corineus, who with pure water thrice around his comrades made lustral cleansing, shaking gentle dew from the fruitful branch of olive. And they said, "Hail and farewell." And over him Aeneas erects a mighty tomb, with the hero's arms, his oar and trumpet, where the mountain rises, memorial forever, and named Maecenas. These rites performed, he hastened to the Sibyl. There was a cavern, yawning wide and deep, Jagged below the darkness of the trees, beside the darkness of the lake, no bird could fly above it safely, with the vapor pouring from the black gulf. The Greeks have named it Avernus, or Ornos, Aornos, meaning birdless. And here the priestess for the slaughter set 4 black bullocks. Black ones poured the holy wine between the horns and plucked the topmost bristles for the first offering to the sacred fire, calling on Hecate, a power in heaven, a power in hell. Knives to the throats were driven, the warm blood caught in bowls. Aeneas offered a lamb, black fleeced to night, and her great sister, a sterile heifer for the queen, for Dis, an altar in the night, and on the flames, the weight of heavy bulls, the fat oil pouring over the burning entrails. And at dawn, under their feet, earth seemed to shake and rumble. The ridges move, and bitches bay in the darkness. As the presence neared, the Sibyl cried a warning, keep off, whatever is unholy. Depart from here. Courage, Aeneas. Enter the path, unsheath the sword. The time is ready for the brave heart. She strode out boldly, leading into the open cavern, and he followed. Gods of the world, of spirit, silent shadows, chaos. Phrygian areas of silence. Wide realms of dark. May it be right and proper to tell what I have heard, this revelation of matters buried deep in the earth and darkness. Vague forms in lonely darkness. They were going through void and shadow, through the empty realm, like people in a forest, when the moonlight shifts with a baleful glimmer, and shadow covers the sky, and all colors turn to blackness. At the first threshold, on the jaws of Orcus, grief and avenging caress have set their couches, and pale diseases dwell, and sad old age, fear, evil counseling, hunger, wretched need, forms terrible to see, and death and toil, and death's own brother sleep, and evil's joys, fantasies of the mind, and deadly war, the Furies' iron chambers, discord, raving, her snaky hair entwined in bloody bands, an elm tree loomed there, shadowy and huge, the aged boughs outspread. Beneath those leaves, men say the false dreams cling, thousands on thousands, and there are monsters in the dooryard, centaurs, Scyllas, of double shape, the beast of Lerna, hissing most horribly, Briareus, the 100-handed giant, a chimera, whose adamant is fire, harpies and gorgons, a triple-bodied giant. In sudden panic, Aeneas drew his sword, the edge held forward, ready to rush and flail, however blindly, save that his wise companion warned him, saying that they had no substance. They were only phantoms, flitting about, illusions without body. From here, the road turns off to Acheron, river of hell. Here, thick with muddy whirling. Cocytus boils with sand. Charon is here, the guardian of these mingling waters. Charon, uncouth and filthy, on whose chin the hair is a tangled mat, whose eyes protrude, are burning, whose dirty cloak is knotted at the shoulder. He poles a boat, tends to the sail, unaided ferrying bodies in his rust-hued vessel. Old, but a god's senility is awful in its raw greenness. To the bank come thronging mothers and men, bodies of great-souled heroes. Their lifetime over, boys, unwedded maidens, young men whose fathers saw their pyres burning, thick as the forest leaves that fall in autumn, with early frost, thick as the birds to landfall. From over the seas, when the chill of the year compels them to sunlight, there they stand, a host imploring to be taken over first. Their hands, in longing, reach out for the farther shore, but the gloomy boatman makes choice among them, taking some and keeping others far back from the stream's edge. Aeneas, wandering, asks the Sibyl, why the crowding? What are the spirits seeking? What distinction brings some across the livid stream, while others stay on the farther bank? She answers briefly, son of Anchias, this is the awful river, the Styx, by which the gods take oath. The boatman Charon, those he takes with him are the buried, those he rejects, whose luck is out, the graveless. It is not permitted him to take them over the dreadful banks and hoarse-resounding waters, till earth is cast upon their bones. They haunt these shores 100 restless years of waiting before the end postponement of the crossing. Aeneas paused in thoughtful mood, with pity over their lot's unevenness, and saw there, wanting the honor given the dead and grieving, Leucaspius and Orontes, the Lycian captain, who had sailed from Troy across the stormy waters and drowned off Africa, with crew and vessel. And there was Palinurus, once his pilot, who not so long ago had been swept over, watching the stars on the journey north from Carthage. The murk was thick, and Aeneas hardly knew him, sorrowful in that darkness, but made question, what god, O Palinurus, took you from us? Who drowned you in the deep? Tell me, Apollo never before was false, and yet he told me you would be safe across the seas and come unharmed to Italy. What kind of promise was this to fool me with? But Palinurus gave him assurance. It was no god who drowned me, no falsehood on Apollo's part, my captain. But as I clung to the tiller, holding fast to keep the course, as I should do, I felt it wrenched from the ship, and I fell with it headlong by those rough seas, I swear. I had less fear on my account than for the ship, with rudder and helmsman overboard, to drift at the mercy of rising seas. 3 nights I rode the waters, 3 nights of storm, and from the crest of a wave, on the 4th morning, sighted Italy. I was swimming to land. I had almost reached it, heavy in soaking garments. My cramped fingers struggled to grasp the top of the rock, when barbarous people, ignorant men mistaking me for booty, struck me with swords. Waves hold me now, or winds roll me along the shore. By the light of heaven, the lovely air, I beg you, by your father, your hope of young Iülus, bring me rescue out of these evils, my unconquered leader. Cast over my body earth. You have the power. Return to Valia's harbor, or there may be some other way. Your mother is a goddess, else how would you be crossing this great river, this Stygian swamp? Help a poor fellow, take me over the water with you. Give a dead man at least a place to rest in. But the Sibyl broke in upon him sternly. Palinurus, whence comes this mad desire no man unburied may see the Stygian waters, or Corsatis, the Furies' dreadful river? No man may come unbidden to this bank. Give up the hope that fate is changed by praying, but hear this, a little comfort in your harsh misfortune. Those neighboring people will make expiation, driven by signs from heaven through their cities, and through their countryside they will build a tomb. There too bring offerings yearly, and the place shall take its name from you, Cape Palinurus. So he was comforted a little, finding some happiness in the promise. And they went on, nearing the river, and from the stream the boatman beheld them cross the silent forest, nearer, turning their footsteps forward toward the bank. He challenged, "Whoever you are, O man in armor, coming in this direction, halt where you are, and tell me the reason why you come. This is the region of shadows and of sleep and drowsy night. I am not allowed to carry living bodies in the Stygian boat, and I must say I was sorry I ever accepted Hercules and Theseus and Pirithous, and rowed them over the lake. Though they were sons of gods and great in courage, one of them dared to drag the guard of hell enchained from Pluto's throne, shaking in terror, the others to snatch our queen from Pluto's chamber. The Sibyl answered briefly, "No such cunning is plotted here. Our weapons bring no danger. Be undisturbed. The hellhound in his cavern may bark forever to keep the bloodless shadows frightened away from trespass. Proserpine, untouched in pureness, guard her uncle's threshold. Trojan Aeneas, a man renowned for goodness, renowned for nerve in battle, is descending to the lowest shades. He comes to find his father. If such devotion has no meaning to you, look on this branch at least and recognize it." And with the word she drew from under her mantle the golden bough. His swollen wrath subsided. No more was said. He saw the bough and marveled at the holy gift. So long unseen, came sculling to the dark blue boat to the shore, and drove the spirits lining the thwarts ashore, and cleared the gangway, and took Aeneas aboard. As that big man stepped in, the leaky skiff groaned under the weight, and the strained seams let in the muddy water. But they made the crossing safely, seer and soldier, to the far margin, colorless and shapeless, gray sedge and dark brown ooze. They heard the baying of Cerberus, that great hound, in his cavern crouching, making the shore resound, as all three throats belled horribly. The serpents rose and bristled along the triple neck. The priestess threw him a sop with honey, and drugged meal. He opened the ravenous throat, gulped and subsided, filling the den with his huge bulk. Aeneas, crossing, passed on beyond the bank of the dread river, whence none return. A wailing of thin voices came to their ears, and the souls of infants crying, those whom the day of darkness took from the breast, before their share of living. And there were many whom some false sentence brought to death. Here Minos judges them once again. A silent jury reviews the evidence, and there are others guilty of nothing, but who hated living. The suicides, how gladly now they would suffer poverty, hardship, in the world of light. But this is not permitted. They are bound 9 times around by the black, unlovely river. Styx holds them fast. They came to the fields of mourning, so called, where those whom cruel love had wasted, hid in secluded pathways under myrtle, and even in death were anxious. Procreus, Phaedra, Avril, displaying wounds her son had given her. Canius, Laodamia, Canius, a young man once, and now again a young man, after having been a woman, and here, new come from her own wound, was Dido, wandering in the wood. The Trojan hero, standing nearby, saw her, or thought he saw her, dim in the shadows, like the slender crescent of moon. When cloud drifts over, weeping, he greets her, unhappy Dido. They told me truly that your own hand had brought you death. Was I, alas, the cause? I swear by all the stars, by the world above, by everything held sacred, here under the earth, unwillingly. O Queen, I left your kingdom, but the gods' command, driving me now through these forsaken places, this utter night compelled me on. I could not believe my loss would cause so great a sorrow. Linger a moment, do not leave me. Whither? Whom are you fleeing? I am permitted only this last word with you. As flint or marble turned away her... But the queen, unmoving, as flint or marble, turned away her eyes, fixed on the ground. The tears were vain, the words, meant to be soothing, foolish. She turned away, his enemy forever, to the shadows, where Sychaeus, her former husband, took her with love for love, and sorrow for her sorrow. And still Aeneas wept for her, being troubled by the injustice of her doom. His pity followed her going. They went on. They came to the farthest fields, whose tenants are the warriors' illustrious throng. Here Tidus came to meet him. Parthenopaeus came, and pale Adrastus, a fighter's ghost, and many, many others, mourned in the world above, and doomed in battle, leaders of Troy in long array. Aeneas sighed as he saw them. Medon, Polybotes, the priest of Ceres, Glaucus, and Idaeus, still keeping arms and chariot, 3 brothers, Antenor's sons. Third, Seleucus, a host to the right and left of him, and when they see him, one sight is not enough. They crowd around him, linger, and ask the reasons for his coming. But Agamemnon's men, the Greek battalions, seeing him there, and his arms in shadow gleaming, tremble in panic, turn and flee for refuge, as once they used to, towards their ships. But where are the ships now? They try to shout in terror, but only a thin and piping treble issues. to mock their mouths wide open. One he knew was here, Deiphobus, a son of Priam, with his whole body mangled and his features cruelly slashed and both hands cut and ears torn from his temples and his nostrils slit by shameful wounds. Aeneas hardly knew him, shivering there and doing his best to hide his marks of punishment. Unhailed he held him. Deiphobus, great warrior, son of Teucer. Whose cruel punishment was this? Whose license abused you so? I heard, it seems, a story of that last night, how you had fallen weary with killing Greeks at last. I built a tomb, although no body lay there, in your honor. 3 times I cried aloud over your spirit, where now your name and arms keep guard. I could not, leaving my country, find my friend to give him proper interment in the earth he came from. And Priam's son replied, nothing, dear comrade, was left undone. The dead man's shade was given all ceremony due. It was my own fortune, and a Spartan woman's deadliness that sunk me under these evils. She it was who left me these souvenirs. You know how falsely happy we were on that last night. I need not tell you when that dread horse came leaping over our walls. Pregnant with soldiery, she led the dancing, a solemn rite, she called it, with Trojan women screaming their bacchanals. She raised the torches high on the citadel. She called the Greeks. Then I was worn with trouble, drugged in slumber, resting in our ill-omened bridal chamber, with sleep as deep and sweet as death upon me. Then she, that paragon of my helpmates, deftly moved all the weapons from the house, my sword, even she stole from underneath my pillow, opened the door, and called in Menelaus, hoping, no doubt, to please her loving husband, to win forgetfulness of her old sinning. It is quickly told. They broke into the chamber, the 2 of them, and with them, as accomplice, Ulysses came, the crime contriving bastard. O gods, pay back the Greeks. Grant the petition, if goodness asks for vengeance. But you, Aeneas, a living man, what chance has brought you here? Vagrant of ocean, God-inspired, which are you? What chance has worn you down to come in sadness to these confusing, sunless dwelling places? While they were talking, Aurora's rosy car had halfway crossed the heaven. All their time might have been spent in converse, but the Sibyl hurried them forward. Night comes on, Aeneas. We waste the hours with tears. We are at the crossroad. Now here we turn to the right, where the pathway leads on to Elysium, under Pluto's ramparts. Leftward is Tartarus and Retribution, the terminal of the wicked and their dungeon. Deiphobus left them saying, O great priestess, do not be angry with me. I am going. I shall not fail the roll call of the shadows. Pride of our race, go on. May better fortune attend you. And upon the word he vanished. As he looked back, Aeneas saw to his left wide walls beneath a cliff, a triple rampart, a river running fire, Phlegians, torrent, rocks, roaring in its course, a gate, tremendous, pillars of adamant, a tower of iron, too strong for men, too strong for even gods, to batter down in warfare, and behind them a Fury, sentinel, in bloody garments, always on watch by day, by night. He heard sobbing and groaning there, and the crack of the lash, the clank of iron, the sound of dragging shackles. The noise was terrible. Aeneas halted, asking, What forms of crimes are these, O maiden? What harrying punishment, what horrible outcry? She answered, O great leader of the Trojans, I have never crossed that threshold of the wicked. No pure soul is permitted entrance thither. But Hecate, by whose order I was given charge of Avernus groves, my guide, my teacher, told me how gods exact the toll of vengeance. The monarch here, merciless, redemptus, punishes guilt. And here's confession. He forces acknowledgement of crime. No man in the world, no matter how cleverly he hides his evil, no matter how much he smiles at his own slyness, can fend atonement off. The hour of death begins his sentence. Tisiphone, the fury, leaps at the guilty. With her scourge, her serpents are whips of menace, as she calls her sisters. Imagine the gates on jarring hinge, rasp open. You would see her in the doorway, a shape, a sentry, savage, implacable. Beyond, still fiercer, the mountainous Hydra dwells. Her 50 throats are black and open wide, and Tartarus is black and open wide. And it goes down to darkness, sheer deep down, and twice the distance that earth is from Olympus. At the bottom, the Titans crawl, earth's oldest breed, hurled under by thunderbolts. Here lie the giant twins, Aeolus' sons, who laid their hands on heaven and tried to pull down Jove. Salmoneus here atones for high presumption. It was he who aped Jove's noise and fire, wheeling his horses triumphant through the sky, and Elis cheering and shaking the torch and claiming divine homage. The arrogant fool to think his brass was lightning. His horny-footed horses beat out thunder. Jove showed him what real thunder was, what lightning spoke from immortal cloud, what whirlwind fury came sweeping from the heaven to overtake him. Here, Tychios, Earth's giant son, lies sprawling over 9 acres, with a monstrous vulture gnawing with crooked beak. Vitals and liver, gnawing with crooked beak, victuals and liver that grow as they are eaten. Eternal anguish, eternal feast. Over another hangs a rock about to fall, and there are tables set for a banquet, gold with royal splendor. But if a hand goes out to touch the viands, the fury drives it back with fire and yelling. Why name them all? Perithous, the Lapiths, Ixion. The role of crime would take forever. Whoever in his lifetime hated his brother or struck his father down, whoever cheated a client or was miserly, how many of these there seemed to be? Whoever went to treasonable war or broke a promise made to his lord, whoever perished slain over adultery, all these walled in. Wait here their punishment. Seek not to know too much about their doom. The stone is rolled, the wheel keeps turning. Theseus forever sits in dejection. Phlygius, accursed, cries through the halls forever, being warned, learn justice. reverence the gods. The man who sold his country is here in hell. The man who altered laws for money, and a father who knew his daughter's bed. All of them dared, and more than dared, achieved unspeakable ambitions. If I had 100 tongues, 100 iron throats, I could not tell the fullness of their crime and punishment. And then she added, "Come, resume the journey. Fulfill the mission. Let us hurry onward. I see the walls of Cyclops made. I see the walls the Cyclops made, the portals under the archway, where the orders tell us our tribute must be set." They went together. Through the way's darkness, came to the doors and halted. And at the entrance, Aeneas, having sprinkled his body with fresh water, placed the bow, golden before the threshold. The will of the goddess had been performed, the proper task completed. They came to happy places, the joyful dwelling, the lovely greenery of the groves of the blessed. Here ampler air invests the fields with light, rose-colored with familiar stars and sun. Some grapple on the grassy wrestling ground, in exercise and sport, and some are dancing and others singing in his trailing robe. Orpheus strums the lyre. The 7 clear notes accompany the dance, the song, and heroes are there, great-souled, born in the happier years. Ilus, Assaracus, the city's founder, Prince Dardanus, far off, Aeneas wonders, seeing the phantom arms, the chariots, the spears fixed in the ground, the chargers browsing, unharnessed over the plain. Whatever living the men delighted in, whatever pleasure was there in horse and chariot, still holds them here under the world. To right and left they banquet in the green meadows, and the joyful chorus rises through the groves of laurel, whence the river runs to the upper world. The band of heroes dwell here, all those whose mortal wounds were suffered in fighting for the fatherland, and poets, the good and the pure, the worthy of Apollo, those who discovered truth and made life nobler, those who served others all with snowy fillets, binding their temples, throng the lovely valley. And these the Sibyl questioned most of all, Musaeus, for he towered above the center of that great throng. O happy souls, O poet, where does Anchises dwell? For him we come here. For him we have traversed Erebus's great rivers. And he replied, it is all our home, the shady groves, and the streaming meadows, and the softness along the river banks. No fixed abode is ours at all. But if it is your pleasure, come over the bridge with me. I will guide you there by easy going. And so Musaeus led them, and from the summit showed them fields all shining. And they went on over and down, deep in the valley of green. Father Anchises was watching with deep earnestness the spirits whose destiny was light, and counting them over, all of his race to come, his dear descendants, their fates and fortunes, and their works and ways. And as he saw Aeneas coming toward him over the meadow, his hands reached out with yearning. He was moved to tears and called, "At last, my son, have you really come at last?" And the long road nothing to a son who loves his father. Do I truly see you and hear your voice? I was thinking so. I was hoping so. I was counting off the days, and I was right about it. Oh, my son, What a long journey over land and water yours must have been! What buffeting of danger! I feared so much the Libyan realm would hurt you. And his son answered, It was your spirit, father, your sorrowful shade, so often met, that led me to find these portals. The ships ride safe at anchor, safe in the Tuscan sea. Embrace me, father. Let your hand join hand in love. Do not forsake me. And as he spoke, the tears streamed down. 3 times he reached out toward him, and 3 times the image fled like the breath of the wind or a dream on wings. He saw in a far valley a separate grove where the woods stir and rustle, and a river, the Lethe, gliding past the peaceful places, the tribes of people thronging, hovering over, innumerable as the bees in summer, working the bright-hued flowers and the shining of the white lilies, murmuring and humming. Aeneas, filled with wonder, asked the reason. For what does he not know? Who are the people in such a host? And to what river coming? And Caius's answers, These are spirits, ready once more for life. They drink the Lethe's water, the soothing potion of forgetfulness. I have longed for long to show them to you. Name them, our children's children. Italy discovered, so much the greater happiness, my son. But, oh, my father, it is thinkable that souls would leave this blessedness, be willing a second time to bear the sluggish body, trade paradise for earth. Alas, poor wretches, why such a mad desire for light? And Caius gives detailed answer. First, my son, a spirit sustains all matter, heaven and earth and ocean and the moon, the stars. Mind quickens mass and moves it. Hence comes the race of man, of beast, of winged creatures of air, of the strange shapes which ocean bears down on below his mottled marble surface. All these are blessed with energy from heaven. The seed of life is a spark of fire, but the body a clod of earth, a clog, a mortal burden. Hence humans fear, desire, grief, and are joyful. And even when life is over, all the evil ingrained so long, the adulterated mixture, the plagues and pestilences of the body persist. So there must be a cleansing, by penalty, by punishment, by fire, by sweep of wind, by water's absolution. Before the guilt is gone, each of us suffers his own peculiar ghost. But the day comes when we are sent through wide Elysium, the fields of the blessed, a few of us, to linger until the turn of time. The wheel of ages wears off the taint and leaves the core of spirit, pure sense, pure flame. 1,000 years pass over, and the god calls the countless host to Lethe, where memory is annulled and souls are willing once more to enter into mortal bodies. The discourse ended. The father drew his son and his companion toward him, the center of the full host, and they came to rising ground, where all the long array was visible, and Caius, watching, noting every comer. Glory to come, my son, illustrious spirits of Dardan lineage, Italian offspring, heirs of our name, begetters of our future. These I will name for you and tell our fortunes. First, leaning on a headless spear and standing nearest the light, that youth, the first to rise to the world above, is Silvius. His name is Alban. In his veins Italian blood will run with Trojan. He will be the son of your late age, Lavinia, will bear him, a king and sire of kings. From him our race will rule in Alba Longa. Near him, Procus, a glory to the Trojan race, and Capys, and Numitor, and Silvus Aeneas. Resembling you in name, in arms, and in goodness, if ever he wins the Alban kingdom over. What fine young men they are, what strength, what prowess. The civic oak already shades their foreheads. These will found cities. Gabii, Vindame, Nomentum. They will crown the hills with towers. Above Coladia, Inuus, Fortress, Bola, Cora, all names to be thus far ungiven. And there will be a son of Mars. His mother is Ilia, and his name is Romulus, Assaracus' descendant. On his helmet, see even now twin plumes. His father's honor confers distinction on him for the world. Under his auspices Rome, that glorious city, will bound her power by earth, her pride by heaven. Happy and hero sons, one wall surrounding her 7 hills, even as the Sibyl, riding through Phrygian cities, wears her crown of towers, rejoicing in her offspring, and embracing 100 children of the gods, her children, celestials, all of them, at home in heaven. Turn the eyes now this way. Behold the Romans, your very own. These are Aeolus's children, the race to come. One promise you have heard over and over. Here is its fulfillment. The son of a god, Augustus Caesar, founder of a new age of gold. In lands where Saturn ruled long ago, he will extend his empire beyond the Indies, beyond the normal measure of years and constellations, where high Atlas turns on his shoulders the star-studded world. Maeotia and the Caspian seas are trembling as heaven's oracles predict his coming, and all the 7 mouths of Nile are troubled. Not even Hercules, in all his travels, covered so much of the world. From Erymanthus to Lerna, nor did Bacchus, driving his tigers from Nisus' summit. How can hesitation keep us from deeds to make our own prowess greater? What fear can block us from Ausonian lands? And who is that one yonder, wearing the olive, holding the sacrifice? I recognize him, that white-haired king of Rome, who comes from Curus, a poor land, to a mighty empire, giver of law to the young town. His name is Numa. Near him is Tullus. He will rouse to arms a race grown sluggish, little used to triumph. Beyond him, Uncas, even now too boastful, too fond of popular favor. And then the Tarquins, and the Avenger Brutus, proud of spirit, restorer of the balance. He shall be the first holder of the consular power. His children will stir up wars again, and he, for freedom and her sweet sake, will call down judgment on them. Unhappy, however, future men may raise him in love of country and intense ambition. There are the Decii, and there are the Drusi. A little farther off, in stern Torquatus, the man with the axe, and the Camillus, Camillus, the regainer of standards lost. And see those two, resplendent in equal arms, harmonious, friendly spirits, now in the shadow of night. But if they ever come to the world of light, alas, what warfare, what battle lines, what slaughter they will fashion, each for the other, one from alpine ramparts, descending, and the other ranged against him, with armies from the east, father and son, through marriage, Pompey and Caesar. O my children, cast out the thoughts of war, and do not murder the flower of our country. O my son, whose line descends from heaven, let the sword fall from the hand, be the leader in forbearing. Yonder is who, victor over Corinth, will ride in triumph home, famous for carnage inflicted on the Greeks. Near him another, destroyer of the old Argus and Mycenae, where Agamemnon ruled. He will strike down a king descended from Achilles. Pydna shall be revenged for Pallas's ruined temple, for Trojan ancestors who would pass over without a word. Cossus, or noble Cato, the Gracchi, or those thunderbolts of warfare. The Scipios, Libya's ruin, or Fabricius, mighty with little, or Serenus, ploughing the humble furrow. My tale must hurry on. I see the Fabi next, and their great Quintus, who brought us back an empire by delaying others. No doubt, will better mold the bronze to the semblance of soft breathing, draw from marble the living countenance, and others plead with greater eloquence, or learn to measure better than we pathways of heaven, the risings of stars. Remember, Roman, to rule the people under law, to establish the way of peace, to battle down the haughty, to spare the meek. Our fine arts these forever. And Caius paused a moment, and they marveled, and he went on. See how Marcellus's triumphs, glorious over all, with the great trophies won when he slew the captain of the Gauls, leader victorious over leading foemen. When Rome is in great trouble and confusion, he will establish order. Gaul and Carthage go down before his sword, and triple trophies be given to Romulus in dedication. There was a young man going with Marcellus, brilliant in shining armor, bright in beauty, but sorrowful, with downcast eyes. Aeneas broke in to ask his father, who is this youth, attendant on the hero? A son of his, one of his children's children. How the crowd murmurs and hums around him! What distinction, what presence in his person! What dark night hovers around his head with mournful shadow! Who is he, father? And Anchius answered, Great sorrow for our people. O my son, ask not to know it. This one fate will only show to the world. He will not be permitted any long sojourn. Rome would be too mighty, too great in the gods' sight. Were this gift hers, what lamentation will the field of Mars raise to the city? Tiber gliding by the new-built tomb, the funeral state bear witness. No youth from Trojan stock will ever raise his ancestors so high in hope. No Roman be such a cause for pride. Alas for goodness, alas for old-time honor. And the arm, invincible in war, against him no one. whether on foot or foaming horse, would come in battle and depart unscathed. Poor boy, if you should break the cruel fates, if only you are to be Marcellus. Let me scatter lilies or dark red flowers, bringing honor to my descendants' shade. Let the gift be offered, however vain the tribute. So the whole wide realm they went together, and Caius and his son, from fields of air, learning and teaching from the fame and glory, the wars to come, the toils to face or flee from. Latinus' city and the Latin peoples, the love of what would be. There are two portals, twin gates of sleep, one made of horn, where easy release is given, true shades. The other gleaming white ivory, whereby false streams issue to the upper air. Aeneas and the Sibyl part from Anchias at the second portal. He goes to the ships again, rejoins his comrades, sails to Cata's harbor, and the vessels rest on their mooring lines. And that was the conclusion of Book 6 of the Aeneid, The Lower World. So I really hope you enjoyed episode 73. And if you enjoyed this, you found it educational, you found it enlightening, or entertaining, would you please give me a like, subscribe, and share? And I shall see you in the next episode. Have a good night, everyone. Love you.